If you want to stay, you pay. It's $5,300. Ray, don't be cheap. Sabrina shoved the card reader into my chest before I'd even cleared the doorway. To the penthouse terrace. My parents watched from the marble kitchen island. Liam watched from the sofa, drink in hand. 80 guests pretended not to listen and absolutely listened. No one looked embarrassed. They looked curious. Like this was the entertainment for the night. Fine, I said. I pulled out my metal card. Tap, pin, approved. I didn't argue. I didn't ask why I was covering a party I'd been uninvited from twice that week. I just left the receipt on the quartz countertop and turned toward the elevator. Sabrina snatched the slip up like it was a lottery ticket, grinning as if she'd just pulled one over on me. She had no idea she'd just printed the first piece of evidence in her own criminal case. The elevator doors slid shut, muting the clink of champagne flutes. 52 floors. 90 seconds. That's all it took to leave my family behind. Inside the elevator, the silence felt dense, but not tragic clean. Like the air after a storm. As the numbers counted down, a thought clicked into place so hard it almost made me laugh. They hadn't invited me because they missed me. They'd invited me because the caterer's terminal had flash declined. My value in that room had nothing to do with being a daughter or a sister. I was there as a payment method. I wasn't family. I was an overdraft line. And overdraft lines don't get feelings. They get used. The doorman nodded as I crossed the lobby and stepped into the winter air. Midtown wind knifed through my dress. The valet jogged up with my car, a midnight blue Tesla. I slid into the driver's seat and didn't check the GPS. I just drove. I needed motion. I needed distance. Mostly, I needed to remember that outside of that apartment, I was not the pathetic character they'd written for me. To my family, I was Ray, the rigid control freak who hoards money and crushes Liam's brilliance. To the rest of New York, I was the woman you called when your company caught fire at 3 a.m. I run a boutique turnaround firm. I dismantle failing corporations, freeze accounts, push out executives who treat company funds like personal ATMs. I am paid very well to recognize a bad investment and cut it off before it poisons the balance sheet. Tonight, for the first time, I let myself say it out loud. My family was a bad investment. I swung onto the West Side Highway. The Hudson was a black sheet to my left. The city lights smeared across the windshield. My mind drifted back up to the penthouse I'd just left. The irony was sharp enough to draw blood. Up there, right now, Liam and Sabrina were probably raising glasses, bragging about their views, their marble, their custom bar. They'd told everyone it was Liam's place. They'd told my parents he'd bought it 4 years ago, cash, off a crypto windfall. That lie had rotted everything. He'd looked my father in the eye and said, "Ray's just holding the deed because of her tax bracket. It's my apartment. She's just the paperwork." My parents believed him. They decided I was the one hoarding their son's success, the wicked sister refusing to let their golden boy sell his penthouse to fund his next genius move. They had no idea, because I never told them. 4 years ago, Liam met me in a dingy cafe in Queens, shaking so hard he spilled coffee on himself. Homeless. $55,000 in debt to a bookmaker named Victor who had already dislocated one of his fingers as a warning. I bought the penthouse as an investment property and let him live there rent-free so he wouldn't end up in traction or worse. I paid off Victor in cash while Liam cried into a paper cup. I hid all of it to protect the image our parents had of him. I let him be the misunderstood genius. I took the role of controlling villain. I pulled off by the river and parked. The Hudson looked restless, slate waves chopping under the sodium lights. For 4 years, I'd been the monster in their story so Liam could stay the hero. I swallowed every accusation stingy, jealous, cold. I accepted it because I thought that was what a good sister did. I thought if I covered enough of his disasters, eventually he'd stand on his own. He didn't. He just got more artistically reckless with money he didn't earn. I glanced at the receipt on the passenger seat. $5,300. I decided that was the severance package. I unlocked my phone and scrolled through my contacts. Past mom. Past dad. I stopped on Marcus Hale. I didn't call. I just stared at the name. Marcus knew the worst parts of my professional life. The hostile takeovers. The bankruptcies. The night we'd stayed up until dawn drafting the papers that ended a 2,000-person company. If I pulled him into this, it wouldn't be a sibling disagreement anymore. It would be an asset disposition. My thumb hovered, then tapped. I wasn't just a trustee on a deed anymore. I was the property owner, and my tenants were past due. The resentment hadn't started with the penthouse. It started 6 years earlier, at my parents' kitchen table. The room smelled like lemon oil and old coffee. Their retirement home deed lay between us 28 years of payments. Reduced to a stack of papers. My father's hands shook as he signed. My mother smiled so hard her cheeks twitched. They weren't downsizing. They were cashing out. They slid a bank check for $250,000 across the table to Liam. He had a pitch deck printed on glossy paper. Lines of code he barely understood. A proprietary trading algorithm he claimed could not fail. I had run the numbers. I knew the risks. I knew his algorithm was a mashup of Reddit threads and unpaid GitHub scripts. Please don't do this, I'd said. You're gambling your future on a back-tested fantasy. My father's eyes went cold in a way I'd never seen. You've always been threatened by him, Ray. He's a visionary. You're safe. You'll be fine no matter what. He needs this. Liam burned through the entire $250,000 in 60 days. The algorithm didn't crash the market. It just quietly lost, trade after trade. But they couldn't let themselves see that. If Liam was a failure, then they were the fools who had funded him. So they rewrote it. The market was crooked. The timing was unlucky. The banks were predatory. And me? My stability became an insult to their sacrifice. My savings account turned into a personal affront. They needed a villain. I was convenient. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat, yanking me back. I expected an apology. Some weak attempt at smoothing things over after publicly shaking me down. I should have known better. Liam, next time fix your face. You looked like you stepped in something when you paid. You embarrassed mom. Another notification. Sabrina, we need boundaries, Ray. You can't just show off money and expect everyone to bow. It's gross. I stared at the screen. They had just pressured me into covering a party I wasn't welcome at. And their takeaway was that I'd been rude about it. They weren't ashamed. They were emboldened. They thought they'd train me, apply pressure, get paid. I opened my laptop right there in the dark car. Corporate triage teaches you where the bodies are buried. County court websites and credit bureaus are gold mines if you know what to type. I pulled Sabrina's file. It wasn't a portfolio. It was a demolition site. Civil judgments from 4 different creditors. A repossession notice on a car she flaunted as bought in cash. 3 maxed out cards in collections. Total unsecured debt. $92,000. She wasn't an influencer. She was insolvent in designer shoes. The party. The sudden demand. The smug entitlement. This wasn't just greed. It was desperation. Victor. It had to be. Liam must have gone back to him, racked up new debts, and now the clock was ticking again. They wanted cash. Fast. Fine. I wasn't going to give them a loan. I wasn't going to give them another bailout. I would give them something much more dangerous. I would give them false hope and let them hang themselves with it. I started the car. I had a meeting to set up. Marcus's office always smelled like leather and old money. I walked in at 8:30 a.m. sharp the next morning. Floor-to-ceiling windows, bookshelves lined with case reporters. Art that probably cost more than my first apartment. Marcus stood when I entered. 3-piece suit, tie loosened just enough to look unbothered. He wasn't just a lawyer. He was the type of attorney CEOs called instead of 911. I don't need you in attorney mode, I said, dropping Sabrina's credit report on his desk. I need you in venture capitalist cosplay. He skimmed the numbers, whistled low. 92 grand in unsecured debt. He looked up. Your sister-in-law is drowning. She's not drowning, I said. She's starving for status. That's worse. I slid another folder toward him. I want you to approach her as the face of a private fund, looking to invest in bold new female-led lifestyle brands. He leaned back, fingers steepled, eyes gleaming. How much are my imaginary partners willing to put into her brand? 600,000, I said. Seed capital. Immediate transfer after signing. And the twist? You love her vision, but your fund has rules. You need hard collateral. Real estate. You tell them you want to secure the investment with their primary residence. The penthouse, Marcus said, the one they tell everyone they bought outright. The one I own completely. He exhaled a laugh. So if they admit it's not theirs, they lose face and the deal. If they lie and sign anyway, they commit fraud in writing. I finished. He nodded slowly. I'll book a private room. The Plaza. 3 days from now? Perfect, I said. Give them time to get really desperate. 3 days later, I sat in my car across from the Plaza, phone connected to the speakers. Marcus had called me 10 minutes before, then set his phone face down on the tablecloth. The mic was crystal clear. I listened to the murmur of cutlery, low background jazz, Sabrina's pitched-up laugh. Marcus wasn't talking about margins or projections. He was talking about vision, authenticity, disruption. He fed her every line she desperately wanted to believe. The market is ready for someone like you. Sabrina, his voice floated through the car. Your aesthetic, your story, it's exactly what my partners are seeking. That's why we're ready to move quickly. How quickly? Liam asked. I heard the greed underneath the casual tone. 600,000 wired within 48 hours of executing the documents, Marcus said. Standard practice with early-stage capital. The only non-negotiable is security. A pause. The tiny clink of a fork. Since the brand is pre-revenue, we secure the advance against a stable asset. Real estate is simplest. I pulled the land records on your penthouse. Outstanding location. No recorded liens. Marcus let that hang. It's in your name, Liam. This was the hinge. They could say, we actually rent. They could invent some excuse and walk away. Yes, Liam said, without hesitation. I bought it 4 years ago. Cash. Crypto bull run. My jaw tightened. Perfect, Marcus said. Then we'll formalize that the property is pledged as collateral. You'd sign as the owners. Once that's executed, wires go out. We don't have the deed with us, Sabrina said. And we're slammed this week. No issue, Marcus replied. I'll email the collateral agreement. You can sign with a notary and send scans. Or, if you prefer something faster, you can grant limited power of attorney for this one transaction. We'll handle the filings. We'll handle it? Liam jumped in. No problem. I ended the call. They had chosen the lie, not to me to a supposed financier. They'd walked out of that lunch thinking they'd won. They had no idea they'd just agreed to pledge a property they didn't own. Saturday at dawn. I watched a silent film. Grainy footage flickered on my laptop. The angle was wide, covering the penthouse living room. I'd installed the camera when I first bought the place to monitor contractors. I'd forgotten it was there until this week. Now I watched my brother pace like a trapped animal. Liam's t-shirt was damp, hair a mess. Even though the thermostat read 6-8. Sabrina sat cross-legged on the velvet sofa, laptop open. Marcus's documents spread around her. The mic picked up every word. We can't sign this, Sab. Liam said. The power of attorney requires a notary. We can't get Ray to sign. She won't answer my calls. She's not mad, Sabrina snapped. She's spineless. And we don't need her to sign. We just need a signature. That is literally fraud, Liam whispered. He dropped onto the ottoman, hands in his hair. If we get caught, this is prison. If we don't get the money, Sabrina said calmly, you won't need a prison jumpsuit. You'll need a wheelchair. Victor didn't suggest you pay him back. He promised consequences. Marcus said his partners don't want a big notary meeting. She went on. They just want paperwork filed. We send it in. The wire hits. We clear Victor. We toss Ray a few grand so she feels seen. By the time anyone looks closely, we'll be long gone. She'll never send us to jail, Sabrina added. She just paid $5,000 for a party we pushed her out of. She's a doormat with better shoes. Relax. She stood and walked to the sideboard. I leaned closer. I knew exactly what she was looking for. She dug through a pile of party debris and pulled out a curled slip of thermal paper. The merchant copy from the catering bill. The one I'd signed with a tight, angry flick of my wrist. She held it up to the morning light, then laid the power of attorney page over it. Don't, I whispered to the empty room. She grabbed a blue pen and carefully traced my name, line by line, using the receipt as a template. Liam watched. He could have stopped her. He could have grabbed the pen, torn the document, said no. He didn't. Move. He let his wife turn them both into felons because doing the right thing felt scarier than another debt. Sabrina finished and held the document up like a masterpiece. Perfect, she said. By Wednesday, we're liquid. I closed the laptop. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was cold. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was predatory. My phone rang. Marcus. A bike messenger just dropped this off, he said. Power of attorney, signed and notarized. Your signature looks familiar. She traced the catering receipt. So now we've got attempted wire fraud, forged POA, false statements to secure credit. He paused. Do you want me to call the DA? Not yet, I said. I want my parents to see the full show first. Set a meeting for Wednesday. Tell Liam he's about to close the biggest deal of his life. I called my parents that evening, told them Marcus was helping Liam finalize a major investment, and the partners wanted family present for the signing. Made it sound like a celebration. They were thrilled. Their golden boy was finally proving everyone wrong. They had no idea what they were walking into. Wednesday afternoon, my parents sat in a narrow observation room, hands folded in their laps. One-way glass separated us from Marcus's conference room. The investors prefer privacy during negotiations, the receptionist had told them. You can watch from here. We'll bring you in for the signing. They stared through the glass, waiting to see their son finally succeed. They didn't know I stood behind them in the shadows. In the conference room, Liam and Sabrina walked in like they owned the building. Sabrina wore white. Liam had on the blazer he saved for funerals and fundraisers. Marcus met them with a calm smile and a stack of papers. He tapped the forged power of attorney with one finger. Before we release funds, he said, my partners want clarity on the crypto trail. You moved a lot of volume during the last bull run. Any residual holdings? Tax exposures? Liam laughed. Residual? No. I burned through everything. My parents' house, their whole retirement altcoins, leverage, you name it. Vaporized. Behind the glass, my mother made a small sound. My father went gray. But they still believe in your genius? Marcus asked. They believe whatever I tell them, Liam said. I sold them the dream. They signed. They'll be fine. Once your money hits, I'll throw them 10, 15 grand. Let them feel involved. They've got Ray anyway. She hoards emergency funds like doomsday and beans. My father's hand tightened on the chair until his knuckles went white. My mother's voice cracked. He told us the bank took it, that it wasn't his fault. In the conference room, Marcus set his pen down. Interesting, he said, because the person actually holding title to that penthouse and paying the mortgage for 4 years is not you. Liam's smile vanished. What? Sabrina said sharply. Marcus looked toward the mirror. Come in. I opened the side door and stepped into the room. My parents followed. Faces stunned, eyes wet. Marcus's voice turned to steel. Mr. and Mrs. Collins, I represent Ray. Not your son, not your daughter-in-law. Ray. Liam's mouth dropped open. What is this? Sabrina demanded, color draining from her face. I dropped 3 stacks of paper on the table. Exhibit A, I said, sliding the first toward them. The catering receipt you made me sign when you threw me out of my own property. Original signature. I dropped the second on top. Exhibit B, the power of attorney you mailed to Marcus, where Sabrina traced that signature to claim I'd authorized you to mortgage my apartment. The signatures were identical. My father saw it instantly. Oh my God, my mother whispered. Exhibit C, I tapped the 3rd stack. 4 years of mortgage statements, all paid from my accounts. In full, on time, every single month. I turned to my parents. You sold your home to fund an algorithm that never worked. You lost everything. You needed Liam to be the genius so you wouldn't feel foolish. So when he lied and told you I was hiding his assets, you believed him. You made me the villain. Liam tried to speak. You told them I was holding your deed because of my tax bracket. I cut in. You let them think I'd trapped you while you lived in my apartment, rent-free for 4 years. My father's voice cracked. You called us idiots. Just now, we heard everything. There is no investment deal, Marcus said flatly. There never was. There is, however, a neat package of crimes. Attempted wire fraud, forged power of attorney, misrepresentation to secure credit. All documented, all on audio and video. He glanced at the mirrored glass. And we have independent witnesses who heard your admissions about their retirement funds. Sabrina went pale. You can't. She began. I can walk this to the DA's office before close of business, Marcus said. Have arrest warrants by morning. He looked at me. Or we can explore alternatives. I slid one more document across the table. This is a settlement, I said. Sign it, and I don't file criminal charges. Liam reached for it. I put my hand flat on the paper. You acknowledge 3 things. 1, you have no ownership interest in the penthouse. 2, you have no claim on any of my current or future assets. 3, you forfeit any right to my estate. No inheritance. Ever. My mother inhaled sharply. And Marcus added, you vacate the penthouse within 1 hour of leaving this room. No drama. No social media. No contacting Ray except through counsel. If you refuse, I said quietly, we file today. The room went still. Ray, come on. Liam tried. We're family. Family doesn't forge signatures, I said. Family doesn't bet their parents' lives on fantasy coins and laugh about tossing them scraps. Sabrina's eyes darted between the forged document. My parents' faces. Marcus's expression. How long would prison be? She whispered. Federal judges don't like forged real estate documents, Marcus answered. Neither do state judges. She grabbed the pen. Wait, Liam said. She stared him down. You wanted Victor off your back, she hissed. Sign the paper. They both signed. Marcus gathered the documents, slid them into a folder, and snapped it shut. Get out of my office, he said. They stumbled out without looking back. 2 hours later, the locks at the penthouse were changed. Their clothes went into labeled boxes in a storage unit. The movers worked in silence. By dusk, every trace of them was gone. I stood on the balcony as the sky turned violet over the Hudson, cold air numbing my cheeks. My phone buzzed once. From Liam? I'm sorry. 3 dots appeared. Another message started then, vanished. I blocked the number dot, then I blocked Sabrina. Then I deleted the entire thread. I hadn't lost a family. I had finally closed an account that had been bleeding me dry for years. In the quiet that followed. For the first time in longer than I could remember, my future felt like it actually belonged to me.